Illinois Democratic Representative Robin Kelly announced she is filing articles of impeachment against Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, accusing her of violating the Constitution, abusing power, and terrorizing American communities through immigration enforcement operations.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to announce I will be impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Secretary Noem has violated the Constitution, and she needs to be held accountable for terrorizing our communities. Operation Midway Blitz has torn apart the Chicagoland area. President Trump declared war on Chicago, and then he brought violence and destruction to our city and our suburbs in the form of immigration enforcement. In my district, federal agents rappelled down from Black Hawk helicopters and burst into an apartment building in the South Shore area. They dragged U.S. citizens and non-citizens alike out of their beds in the middle of the night. They claimed the apartment was infiltrated by members of a Venezuelan gang. I don't understand this president's obsession with Venezuela, but they did not arrest a single member from that gang. I visited that apartment building and saw firsthand the destruction those agents left. Doors to people's homes or apartments were kicked down. Belongings, including little kids' toys, were strewn about in the hallway. That raid and so many others shook our community, not just immigrants, but everyone. Now Secretary Noem has brought her reign of terror to Minneapolis after she left Charlotte and Raleigh. We have all seen what happened. An ICE officer shot and killed Renee Nicole Good in cold blood. Without knowing any of the facts or an investigation, Secretary Noem lied about what happened. She called a beloved 37-year-old mom a domestic terrorist. Secretary Noem and her rogue agents are the ones terrorizing our communities, and she is breaking the law to do so. I will hold her accountable, and I'm filing 3 articles of impeachment against Secretary Noem. Number 1, obstruction of Congress. Secretary Noem has denied me and other members of Congress oversight of ICE detention facilities. It is our constitutional duty to find out what's happening in these centers where people are reportedly being treated like less than animals. 2, violation of public trust. Secretary Noem directed ICE agents to arrest people without warrants, use tear gas against citizens, and ignore due process. She claims she's taken murderers and rapists off our streets, but none of the 614 people arrested during Operation Midway Blitz has been charged or convicted of murder or rape. 3, self-dealing. Secretary Noem has abused her power for personal benefit. She steered a federal contract to a new firm run by a friend, her friend. Her propaganda campaign to recruit ICE agents cost taxpayers $200 million. She made a video that turned the South Shore raid into something that looked more like a movie trailer. But make no mistake, this is not a movie. This is real life, and real people are being hurt and killed. I really have to wonder who are the people behind the mask. These DHS agents have no identifying factor. From all their botched raids and officer-involved shootings, I have to ask, what is their training like? What is the vetting? Is Secretary Noem recruiting January 6th insurrectionists? I was one of the last members of Congress to escape the House gallery on January 6th. I remember hiding on my hands and knees and running through the hallways to a safe room. Insurrectionists are not fit to serve as law enforcement. I realize that impeachment of Secretary Noem does not bring Renee back. True justice would be Renee alive today, at home with her family. Impeachment doesn't bring back the 4 other people killed by immigration officers this year, including a man in Chicago. We cannot bring them back to their loved ones. What we can do, though, is impeach Secretary Noem, hold her accountable, let her know the public is watching. In this country, we do not kill people in cold blood without consequences. These are not policy disagreements. These are violations of her oath of office, and she must answer for her impeachable actions. I yield back.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman.
Illinois Democratic Representative Robin Kelly announced she is filing articles of impeachment against Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, accusing her of violating the Constitution, abusing power, and terrorizing American communities through immigration enforcement operations. Before we go further, subscribe now. We do not just show you what happened, we explain why it matters and what comes next. Kelly framed her remarks around a sweeping enforcement effort known as Operation Midway Blitz, which she says has devastated neighborhoods across the Chicagoland area. According to Kelly, the operation did not just target undocumented immigrants, it sent shockwaves through entire communities. She described federal agents descending from Black Hawk helicopters, storming apartment buildings in the South Shore neighborhood of Chicago, and pulling people from their beds in the middle of the night. U.S. citizens and non-citizens alike were detained. Families were left terrified. Children woke up to chaos. The justification given for at least one of those raids was that a Venezuelan gang had infiltrated the building. Kelly says not a single gang member was arrested. She later visited the apartment complex herself and described doors kicked in, personal belongings scattered through hallways, and children's toys left amid the destruction. Her message was clear. This was not a targeted law enforcement action. It was a display of force that traumatized an entire community. Kelly argued that what happened in Chicago is part of a broader pattern. She said similar operations followed in Charlotte, Raleigh, and then Minneapolis. In Minneapolis, she pointed to the fatal shooting of 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good by an ICE officer. From there, Kelly laid out the legal foundation for impeachment. She announced 3 articles. The first article accuses Secretary Noem of obstruction of Congress. Kelly says she and other members of Congress have been denied access to ICE detention facilities, despite Congress having constitutional oversight authority. These are facilities where detainees are held, sometimes for weeks or months, and where reports of abuse and inhumane conditions have surfaced. Blocking oversight, Kelly argued, is not a political disagreement. It is a constitutional violation. The second article accuses Noem of violating the public trust. Kelly alleged that ICE agents under Noem's direction have arrested people without warrants, deployed tear gas against civilians, and ignored basic due process protections. She challenged one of the administration's most common talking points, that ICE operations are removing violent criminals from the streets. According to Kelly, none of the 614 people arrested during Operation Midway Blitz have been charged with or convicted of murder or rape. If that is accurate, it raises serious questions about how targets are selected and how enforcement success is being portrayed to the public. The third article accuses Secretary Noem of self-dealing and abuse of power for personal benefit. Kelly alleged that Noem steered a federal contract to a firm run by a personal friend. She also criticized a taxpayer-funded recruitment and propaganda campaign that reportedly cost $200 million. Part of that campaign included a highly produced video depicting the South Shore raid in a cinematic action movie style. Kelly emphasized that this was not entertainment, this was real life, involving real families, real trauma, and real loss of life. Kelly also raised alarms about the lack of identifying information on DHS agents during raids. She questioned who these officers are, what training they receive, and how they are vetted. In one of the most emotionally charged moments of her speech, Kelly referenced January 6th. She said she was among the last members of Congress to escape the House gallery during the insurrection, crawling and running through hallways to reach safety. She asked whether individuals involved in that attack could now be serving as federal law enforcement officers, and made clear that anyone who participated in the insurrection should never be entrusted with policing American communities. Kelly acknowledged the limits of impeachment. She said it will not bring Renee Nicole Good back to life. It will not undo the deaths of 4 other people killed by immigration officers this year, including one in Chicago. But she argued that impeachment is still necessary. It is a mechanism for accountability. It sends a signal that no official is above the law and that violations of constitutional rights have consequences. Her closing message was blunt. These are not policy disagreements. These are alleged violations of an oath of office. Subscribe now if you want continued coverage of this impeachment effort, what happens next procedurally, and how it could reshape the immigration debate nationwide.